Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Nowadays I'm doing a series of videos for the Boeing 778, which is the default plane for the Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this is going to be the third video in which I will tell you how to take off and fly this plane on autopilot. Before this, I've done two videos in which I've told you how to configure the FMC, which is the flight management computer of this plane, and how to start this plane from the cold and dark state. So if you're not really familiar with those procedures, you can follow the links given in the description and you can watch those videos also. While making this video, I'm keeping this thing in my mind that the beginners will be watching it. So that's why I will just try to keep things really basic, and I will tell you everything about the takeoff and plus different things about the autopilot, how to activate the autopilot, how to fly the plane on L-NAV and V-NAV, how to fly the plane on flight level change and vertical speed. So there will be few things that I will be just taking you through. So right now I am at runway 9 left for Heathrow International Airport, and I will be doing a flight to Frankfurt. So the FMC is all configured. There are two things that we have to do, which I left in the previous video. First of all, you have to actually set the trim for the pitch, whether to pitch up or down during the takeoff, because this is calculated as per the center of gravity of the plane. So if you look at the FMC, it's coming as the center of gravity is 11%. So that's why the trim is 8.2. So it's roundabout somewhere here, nose up. So you will set it to 8.2. If you don't know how to access the screen, then if you go back to index, or if you go back to even initial reference page, and if you go back to index, you will see the takeoff. And over here on this page, you will see the trim. So for this, you have your yoke, and on the yoke you can see these buttons, and it's also written nose down and nose up stab trim. So you actually have to set it from here. So if you keep your cursor over here and move the mouse wheel, you can change the numbers, as you can see it over here in the ICAS. So I can set it to 8.2. Okay, so that's it. Now it's set. And you can also see the traffic over here, because the transponder is set to TAR. So everything is good. Let's set the seatbelt signs to auto, because then the seatbelt signs will be automatically turning on and off during the flight. One more thing I would just like to tell you, that during the takeoff you have to actually keep an eye over here on the primary flight display. The V1, VR and V2 will be coming over here. And 138 is coming right now, as you can see. This is the V1. Before this speed, you can still decide to abort the takeoff, but after this speed, you have to take off, and you have to take off at the speed of 141 knots, and you want to achieve 162 knots right after the takeoff. During the takeoff, I will not try to go more than 10 degrees. I will just keep the nose up by 10 degrees, not more than that, because if you go more than that, there are chances that you'll face a tail strike. So, and plus I'm taking off at a full throttle, as you can see, 100%. It's set. It even says toga, take off and go around. It's a full throttle. If you go over here in the thrust limit, you will see almost 100% of the thrust, and that will be too much power with the given weight and the fuel that I have. So the plane will actually lift itself up automatically after V1. And plus the climb rate will also be very aggressive till the time the plane reaches the thrust reduction altitude. It is actually an altitude at which the thrust will automatically reduce. So you have to actually, on the takeoff, control your climb rate in such a way that you don't exceed the speed limit, and plus the plane also keeps on climbing. And one more thing, on the PFD after the takeoff, you will also see some speeds coming, 10, 5 and 1 and up, which are actually the speeds at which you will retract the flap. So I will be not only controlling the climb rate of the plane, but rather I will also keeping an eye over here. And as soon as I reach a certain speed limit, then I will retract the flaps. Right now, the flaps are at 10 degrees. So let's check. The speed brake is set to, auto brake is set to RTO. And one more thing, you have to turn on the strobe, because strobe is not required on the parking gates or during the taxi, but on the runway it's required. It's a blinking light which enables other planes to see your plane from the distance. So everything is looking good so far. And you're ready for the takeoff. So let's release the parking brakes. Just push the yoke a bit like this. And once you are at 100 knots, then you will release it. So now I will just give a little bit of thrust for the engines to spool and then full throttle. So just keep an eye on the primary flight display for the different speeds. And now I can release the yoke. And this is VR. Just pull back, not more than 10 degrees. Positive rate of climb, so I can track the gears. So you can see the speed is now increasing. We are rather approaching the speed limit, because below 10,000 feet you cannot go more than 250 knots. So I'm just trying to control the speed in such a way and the climb rate that the speed is not more than 250 knots. Now I'm also retracting the flaps. You can see as this thrust has reduced, so that's why you can see the speed is reducing tremendously. So I have to actually push on the yoke to reduce the vertical speed so that the speed keeps on increasing. As you can see now, the speed is also increasing as now I have crossed the up mark. This is the place or the point at which I will fully retract the flaps. And with this, I can turn on the autopilot by pressing this button. And now everything will be done by the autopilot. So as the V-NAV is now active, the plane will not only control the speed but also the vertical speed or the climb rate of the plane. And it will restrict itself at 6,000 feet, because right now there is a point over here in our flight plan, DAT, at which you should be at 6,000 feet, not more than that. There is a ceiling over here, 5,000 and above, so we are 5,000 and above. 3,000 and above, this is coming, 5,000 and above, and over here 6,000, not more than 6,000. So now you can see the plane is leveling off at 6,000, and the speed is also getting adjusted at 250 knots, because below 10,000 feet you cannot go more than 250 knots. So right now the plane will actually keep on flying at 6,000 feet, and the speed will be 250 knots till the time we cross this point, and then automatically the plane will start to climb to 38,000 feet. So if there is any restriction, it will actually follow. So this is the best thing about the V-NAV. So V-NAV will keep on controlling the speed and plus the climb rate or the descent rate if you are descending. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm just going to save some time, and instead of waiting till DET, I'm just going to make some adjustments in the altitude and will give you a little bit of introduction about the vertical speed and the flight level change. So right now, if you see, I reduce the speed, the altitude, you will see that nothing will happen. Even if I keep it at 10,000, nothing will happen, because right now the plane is in the V-NAV mode and it's following all the restrictions as per the flight plan. You can also access this information over here from legs, and you will see these restrictions over here, 6,000, 6,000, and over here 23,500, almost 30,000, 32,700 and stuff like this. So it's all coming. Okay, so the plane will even keep on flying even if you change the altitude. What to do if I want to climb? I don't want to follow this restriction and I want to climb. Then what I'll do is this. I can either activate flight level change or I can activate vertical speed. The moment I'll press any of these buttons, the V-NAV will turn off and you will start seeing speed over here. And if I press the vertical speed, then the vertical speed will also come. So let's press vertical speed, and you can see now the speed is coming 250, because there is a restriction of the speed as well as below 10,000 feet, and the vertical speed is coming. So if I increase the vertical speed, if I keep it at 1,000, the plane will actually climb. And over here, on the flight mode enunciator on this top line, which is also known as the FMA, you will see vertical speed is coming. So right now in the autopilot mode, the vertical speed is active, and right now the autopilot is giving priority to the vertical speed. What if I keep it at very high climb rate? Let's say 5,000 feet per minute, very high climb rate. And now you can see the speed is dropping. The autopilot is actually trying to adjust the throttle in such a way that the speed at 250 knots is achieved. Right now, again, it's in the climb mode, as you can see it over here. But the speed is not reaching up to 250 because it's a very high climb rate. Because right now the priority is the climb rate, not the speed. So if I reduce it, then you will see the speed is increasing and it will stabilize at 250. So if you are using vertical speed, then the priority will be given to the vertical speed rather than the speed. As you've heard this sound, it means the plane is about to level off at 10,000 feet. You can hear the sound just 1,000 feet before the plane levels off at the given altitude. So right now as the plane is at 10,000 feet, what you can do is this: you can also turn off the lights. You don't need them, but you have to keep the beacon on, the nav, and plus the strobe. Rest you can turn it off. And seat belt signs are automatically set to auto, so you really don't have to worry about it. They will keep on turning on and off throughout the flight. So right now what will happen if I increase the speed to 12,000? What will happen? Let's see. Even if I've increased the speed, altitude, and if I even press this button, again the plane will not climb because we haven't given this instruction to the autopilot to either climb or to descend. What to do? So for this, you can again press vertical speed. Nothing will happen because you haven't set the vertical speed. And then you can set the vertical speed, and now the plane will actually climb. With this, as now I'm above 10,000 feet, what I can do is this: I can again set this altitude to 15,000 feet because I just want to show you one more thing. As now you're above 10,000 feet, you can also increase the speed. So let's say if I increase the speed, what will happen? So let's say if I keep it at 300 knots, you can see the speed is increasing, and plus the climb rate is stable at 1,700. But what if I keep on increasing the vertical speed? Sorry, it's the other way. So what if I just keep on increasing the vertical speed? What will happen? You will again see that plane will not reach 300 knots because it's climbing. So the thrust is either used to increase the speed or to increase the climb rate. So right now it's very high climb rate. That's why the speed is not increasing. So you have to actually manually adjust it. So this is a little bit of a trick once you're using the vertical speed. So if you can manage it, then you can climb also on the vertical speed. So let's wait for the plane to level off at 15,000 feet, and then I will show you some magic. So with this, I would just like to revise it, that if you want to have a very good smooth flight following all the restrictions and everything, then you should fly it in the V-NAV mode. But if you want to climb and descend at your given settings, then you have to take the plane out of the V-NAV mode by either pressing the vertical speed or the flight level change. Now I will tell you something about the flight level change. Now you see that the speed is stable at 300, and now the altitude is 15,000 feet. So this is how the plane is going to now fly. So now what if I change it to 20,000? What will happen? Nothing will happen because the hold is on. So it means the plane will actually hold on to this altitude, the given one, 15,000 feet. And no matter what I do over here, the altitude will not change. In order to climb again, instead of using vertical speed, I can press this button, flight level change, or I can double press this button, and then the flight level change will be active. Now, what flight level change does is this, that, as you can see, flight level change speed, it's coming. So now the plane is trying to maintain the speed and then adjusting the vertical speed or the climb rate in such a way that this speed is not compromised. So now in this mode, the priority is given to the speed. In the vertical speed mode, the priority was given to the climb rate. So right now you can see the climb rate is constantly adjusting, but the speed remains constant. Even if I increase the speed, let's say if I keep it at 320 or if I keep it at 330, you can see the vertical speed is not reducing. And the speed will keep on increasing till the time it's at 330, and then the plane will again climb. And if at this moment, if I press even hold, what will happen? Even if I've pressed hold, what's happened is this, that now whatever the altitude was, the plane is still holding on to that altitude and not climbing up to 20,000 feet. Again, if you want to start the climb, you can press this button, or you can press flight level change, and again you will see the plane will start to climb. But the speed will always remain 330, and the speed will not be compromised, but the plane will actually adjust or the autopilot will actually adjust the auto throttle in such a way that the speed is maintained and the climb rate is changed. You also, if you see this this error also, the color, if the color changes and there is a square around it, or a rectangle around standard, you have to press this button to change the barometric pressure from the given one to the standard. This is actually required. Okay, now you can see the vertical speed is changing constantly and the plane is climbing. Now this was something about the flight level change and the vertical speed. You have to practice different things, and then eventually you will get good at it. Now talking about the L-NAV. So what L-NAV is doing actually is this, that you see this flight plan, and whether to turn left or right, it's done by L-NAV. What if I set it to the current heading, let's say 44, and I press this button, then the plane will actually come out of the L-NAV mode, and then the plane will actually start to fly in this heading, that is 44 degrees. And if you want to turn, then you have to actually change the heading like this. Oops, I've changed the bank as well. I need to change the bank angle. You have to change this heading so that the plane keeps on following this path. This is only required if you're flying in the heading mode. In case of a missed approach, or you're flying with VRAM and you're getting instructions from the controller, then you have to actually do it. So right now you can see it's a bit difficult to actually select the heading and intercept this line and then fly on this line. It gets a bit difficult. You have to practice it a lot if you want to manually adjust the heading. As you can see, I'm changing the heading and the plane is turning. What if I press hold? What will happen is this, that instead of going to the heading 112, the plane is again trying to go into this heading at which it was at that time when I pressed it. So even if I change the heading, nothing will happen now. So to take the plane out of this hold option, I have to press this button again, and then the plane will actually then move towards this heading. And that's it. And if you want to go back to the L-NAV mode, you can simply press L-NAV, and then the plane will follow this flight path. You can also see this indicator over here, which is telling you that you are deviating from your flight path. So this is also a good indicator. LDEV, lateral deviation. And during the descent, you will also see vertical deviation over here. So this will be covered when I will make a video for the descent management and the eyeless approach. So right now you can see that the L-NAV is actually trying to intercept this flight path, and then it will correct its path to follow the flight path. And this LDEV will also come in the center. Let's wait for it. So that's all. If I press hold, what will happen? I can take it out from the L-NAV and hold, and then it will keep on flying in this heading. No matter if I change the heading, it will not follow this. And still, if I want the plane to turn left or to follow this heading 105, I can press this button, and then the plane will turn. So that's how you control the heading. So I can now press L-NAV and just make my life easy and let the autopilot follow this flight path. So I hope I have covered these 3-4 things in the autopilot very well, and now you guys can actually take this plane up in the air and fly it on autopilot. So just to revise again, if you press V-NAV, then the speed and the climb rate or the descent rate of the plane will be carried out as per the flight plan given over here in the page legs. But right now you can see that the plane is at 20,000. So if I increase the altitude, what will happen? Nothing will happen. So even in the V-NAV mode, if I want the plane to climb or to descend, I have to press it. So if I press this button, then you can see now the speed button is off. Now the speed and the vertical speed is controlled by the autopilot. So in order to climb, you have to press it again. And now in the V-NAV, the speed will be maintained at 330 or 320, whatever the speed is coming over here. As you can see, 319 coming, 319 knots. So the speed will be set to 319 knots, as you can see it over here, and then the plane will climb up to 38,000 feet. And if I, let's say, want to restrict the plane at 26,000 feet, what I can do is this: I can do it again, press it, and 26,000 will be given, or I can turn on vertical speed and then keep on climbing it in this way. But in this case, the vertical speed is given the priority and the speed will reduce, as you can see. In order to save myself from this, I can press flight level change, and then the priority will be given to the speed and the vertical speed will be adjusted, and the plane will actually climb up to this flight level. And I can now press V-NAV and climb up to 30,000 feet. So I hope that this video has helped you, and you will be able to fly this plane on autopilot. This is something bit tricky, flight level change and the vertical speed, but once you do it 3-4 times during your flight, then you will know. Otherwise, while I'm flying this plane, I'm always flying it on V-NAV, unless I'm flying with VATSIM or using ATC. Then I use flight level change, because flight level change is good to use, because then you can control the speed. Otherwise, with vertical speed, you will keep on playing with the vertical speed and your speed will never be stabilized. With this, I would just like to end my video. If you have got any questions, you can ask me in the comment section. If you want to add anything to this video, the comment section is there for you. Thank you very much for staying with me. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.